Topic of today's shir will be, since we're holding right بعומر, the living legacy of Rav Shimon Bar Yochai. But before we start discussing, and hopefully we'll try to uncover at least two aspects to the legacy of Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, we should just like to introduce a very important yesod in Judaism, and it came out very incidentally, almost accidentally. I was discussing with a colleague of mine the unbelievable, the serious nefesh, the dedication, the actual heroism and courage of the soldiers in Gaza, due to the fact that they are restricted by world opinion, so they cannot attack from the distance using the normal armaments to do so. They actually go into the home searching for terrorists, going door to door, and many, many, many floors are booby-trapped. So this individual who happens to know what's going on told me that he never heard of such tremendous heroism and courage. In the discussion, it came out that Reb Chaim Voloshin told us the secret of the Jewish neshama and where exactly the courage, unbelievable, supernatural, surreal courage and heroism stems from. It's interesting that in Pirkei Avos, Perek Hey, and this week on Shabbos we'll be studying Pirkei Avos, the 5th chapter. So we have a major contrast insofar as describing Avram Avinu is concerned. In Perek Beis, we describe Avram Avinu simply as Avram, that there were 10 generations, Asara Doiris, Mi Noach and Avram. There was 10 generations from Noach till Avram. A historical fact, and we have to understand exactly what the significance of that fact is, but that's stated in Pirkei Avos. In the very next Mishnah, again, we are referring to Avram Avinu. He is the focus of the Mishnah. And it says, Asara Nisyanis Nisnasa Avram Avinu. There were 10 trials and tribulations that were administered to Avram Avinu. All of Asholom, the Omad Bikulam, and he was able to, as it were, overpower all of these Nisyanis, and he came out victorious and triumphant. So the question naturally arises, why in Mishnah Beis, when we're referring to a simple historical fact, we just say Avram. Noach al Avram, there were 10 generations. Noach al Avram, 10 generations went by. And insofar as the 10 Nisyanis are concerned, we're all familiar with the 10 trials and tribulations. It culminated with Akedas Yitzchak, according to most commentators. So we have a special appellation and designation, Avram Avinu, Avram our father, Olav Shalom, in the higher celestial sphere. So Reb Chaim Voloshin, in his classical commentary Ruach Chaim, asks this question, and he says that we have a pasuk in Mishlei Mesalech Betumay Tzadik. If someone who is a tzaddik and he goes in a righteous path, so who will be fortunate? His children and generations that come after him. Because tzaddikim, and insofar as the Avos Ha'olam are concerned, our forefathers, Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, so this special focus on them, so they had to arduously, with great laborious effort, achieve unique traits. Nevertheless, insofar as their descendants are concerned, the Jewish people that come after them, so we have it in our DNA. We got it through the process of a hereditary type of character and personality that has been embedded and instilled in what we call Nishmas Yisrael. And we only need a little effort. The Avos HaKadoshim had to reach their dizzying heights. through arduous, laborious efforts. Nevertheless, we can achieve it very, very easily because we already have it through the process of heredity. We have it already in our DNA, embedded deep, deep in our souls and personality. So therefore, Reb Chaim Volozhin says, Avram Avinu was Masa Nafshe L'Or Kastem Ala Munasai. It was a question of becoming an apostate or being thrown into a burning furnace. So Avram Avinu refused to abandon, to renounce his faith in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and he allowed himself to be thrown into a burning furnace, and all the other 9 Nishanis as well. And the Avram Avinu, overcoming all these difficulties, paved the way, says Reb Chaim Volozhin, Yashir Aderech Lefonenu, to make it much easier for us. V'chein hisaychus la'odom pisoim leilech la'artzes hakodesh. Many times we've encountered people that suddenly decided to leave America, to leave England, and come to Eretz Israel. Recently, we perhaps met more people like that, but measured all the years that we've been here, over 50 years, we always met people, and we are included, that decided and to come to Eretz Israel. If we would be asked a question, what was the logical reason behind it, we would find it very difficult to explain it. It's a decision that came with great ease, not based on any calculations, financial calculations, etc. And the reason it came with ease, we just had an uplifted spirit, or all these people that came with an uplifted spirit, is because Avram Avinu went from his homeland to Eretz Canaan based on HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Sivur. That was an Nisayan of Lech Lecha Me'altzecha, based on Vicha. He left everything, his homeland, his father's home, and he came to Eretz Israel. So now we have it instilled in our character. And it's very interesting, says Reb Chaim Volozhin. The Kabbalah's called the Avdin Mishmayov, the Tav B'Nisayan Harov Shelo Hirach Midos Hashem Yisborach. We went through difficulties. Everybody has financial difficulties, other problems, troubles at home. Nevertheless, we always say, Kol Ma Da'avid Rachman L'Tav Avid, not lose our faith in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we remain faithful to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, even in times of real financial difficulties and other type of difficulties. How is this? Because Avram Avinu, when there was a Rav, also was not Maharer HaKamidos of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Even though HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him to come there, it's Canaan. And Avram Avinu was expecting great things. Nevertheless, there was no fortune that awaited him in Eretz Canaan, and he had to leave Eretz Canaan to go to Eretz Mitzrayim because there was a famine. Nevertheless, he stayed steadfast in his faith, and he was not Mahar HaKamidos of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He was not critical. He did not try to analyze, explore the reasons behind HaKadosh Baruch Hu's decree that there should be a famine now. And therefore, that made it much easier, with a little effort, for us to accept all these happenings that happened to us. Ki sheva yipol tzaddik v'kom, 7 times a tzaddik, shebemunasa yechya, who lives in his faith, can fall, and nevertheless he picks himself up by the bootstraps. Nevertheless, Rasha yipol ba'achas, a Rasha will fall once, and he will not be able to pick himself up. He will not be able to motivate, inspire himself to continue. He'll just give up. We don't lose our faith. How is it that we do not become totally dejected? How is it that we don't become broken and go into deep depression because we realize that everything that perhaps we think is bad is for our ultimate good, whether now or later on? So Sheva Yipol Tzaddik, 7 times he could fall. Nevertheless, he will not in any way be critical of the Hashgacha. He will accept everything. B'leiv Sholem, Tolem Tiyem Hashem Alekecha. A person should be perfect with the HaKadosh Baruch Hu, not in any way trying to understand what's happening. Nevertheless, he should try to inspire himself and continue in his avodas Hashem. That's Tomim Tiyeh, and Hashem Elokecha walk perfectly with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And it's interesting that the Or Sameach in Parshas Ve'eschanon explains this idea that's embedded in the Jewish soul a little bit more, the arichos, a little bit, not so briefly, but he explains it a little bit deeper, and he puts it into a pasuk. We all know that in the times of the Spanish Inquisition, those that were Moisei Nefesh, those that gave up their lives, refused apostasy, accepted martyrdom, were women, children, and Amaratzim. Because they didn't think, they didn't try to analyze the situation, they accepted the situation the way it is, and therefore they submitted to martyrdom. The Meshech Chochmah brings this down, Rabbi Simcha Dvinsk brings this down, as well as Reb Chaim Volozhin. Even Amaratzim, people that were not versed in the Torah, but they had this part of their personality, part of their character. And we see this today. Supernatural, surrealistic, Kaychas HaNefesh, and they're doing this in order to save all of us, the Jewish nation, and we don't understand how much we have to be grateful to them, and halavai, we should come to that level of gratitude. But the Meshech Chochmah says a very interesting point. We have to love HaKadosh Baruch Hu with our bodies and souls. So we don't know exactly what that means. If it means money, so of course, with our financial possessions, if we're willing to give up our lives, we would surely give up our financial possessions as well. So he explains that the word moedecha means above and beyond. It's something that the Jewish person has above and beyond anyone else. Love HaKadosh Baruch Hu with your body and soul, moedecha, and something which is above and beyond a certain dimension which others don't have. And what is that dimension? So he says, for example, we have people in this world that are willing to risk their lives in order to have some sort of great fortune awaiting them. So we have people that go into the coldness and difficult weather conditions and also dangerous conditions for the future gain. A person, even a guy, understands things in terms of present, past, and future, and he understands that he has to reach to the future, and many times, from a financial point of view, there's no question about it, he's willing to endanger himself for some sort of success, some sort of triumph in the financial world. Animals, of course, do not have any sense of expectation. We are commanded to love HaKadosh Baruch Hu with mo'idecha, with a hargoshet, with that extra dimension and feeling, deep-seated feeling, that even if he's manish us, in other words, we're not talking about Gashmias materialism, we're talking about spiritualism, even though we feel that at this point we have a punishment, Yargisha Odom, a person should feel, says the Meshech Chochmah, Shakol Toive Osid, everything is for a future great fortune that is awaiting him. Oy, L'mechilas Ovoin, we'll have forgiveness for our sins, we will not have to be punished in a more difficult, severe way, or the Zaket Kachomer, or for catharsis, purifications, etc. These things we are not included in, we don't understand it, that's not shkocha. But that is only the Jewish people are capable of achieving that moedecha and understanding that everything for the future needs an investment, and this is a great investment for the future. This was just a brief introduction. At this juncture, we should like to speak about two important aspects of a legacy of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. First and foremost, we should realize the greatness of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. The Gemara tells us in Shabbos a remarkable story. It's in Shabbos Kuf Lamed Ches, portfolio 138. Tana Rabbanon keshenichnusu Rabbeinu lekerem Yavne Amru Asidu Torah shishtakach miYisrael. When our rabbis came into the vineyard of Yavne after the destruction of the second Beis Hamikdash, they saw Baruch HaKodesh, with the divine spirit, that the Torah is destined to be forgotten in Am Yisrael, the Jewish people. As it says, behold, it won't be for lechem, it will not be for mayim, so they quoted the pasuk in Yirmiyah, behold, the days will come, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, that I will send a famine in the land, but not a famine of bread, and not a famine for thirst for water, but hearing the words of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and they shall wander in all directions, but unfortunately, the words of the Lord will be hidden from them. So if the Chazal saw, there is going to be such a gezerah, so indeed it was realistic. And the Gemara tells us at the end, one of the most remarkable stories in Jewish history, Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, that he already saw a world that was desolate from Torah. He was from the 5 Talmidim that Rebbe Kiva came to after the destruction of the greatest mifal of Torah of all time. 24,000 Talmidim of Rebbe Kiva perished within 7 weeks, and the Olam, the world, was desolate of Torah, says Rashi, was totally forgotten. And remarkably, we mentioned it not too long ago, Rebbe Kiva, also a supernatural person, reestablished it with 5 Talmidim. Otherwise, there would be no Jewish people. We would have been assimilated and totally destroyed. Without Torah, there is no possibility to stop assimilation. So he got up and he said, Chas v'sholom shetishtachach Torah miYisrael. And he brought down psukim. And even though there was contradictions, he was able to resolve these contradictions. And he said, not to the other members of the Bezdin of Yavne, but he directed his words also to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and he said, I want to tell you clear Torah reasoning that this pasuk does not entail a complete forgetting of the Torah. We can say that there will be a gezerah partially, that there will not be halacha brewer, mishnah brewer, halacha mechel. We will not have a clarity insofar as a halacha is concerned. It will be very, very difficult for us to clarify halachas. There will always be machlokesin. A clear halacha, a clear mishnah in one place will be very, very difficult to decipher, and that is exactly what the interpretation of Shimon Bar Yochai was. Will wander from place to place in the Gemaras, and we will not come out with the clarity. So the Beis Yisrael once said that we have in that beautiful payet that we say on Lag Boimer, so we have a payet that we say, Toirosai Mogen Lonu, his Torah, the Torah that he said, Mogen Lonu, to this day. It protects us to this day. So the commentators did not know exactly what was meant by that. So the Beis Yisrael said the pshat is this Gemara. Of course, all the beautiful poetry that was written about the grandeur of Shimon Bar Yochai was written Ruach HaKodesh in the times of the Rishonim, in medieval times, It was under the impact of a divine uplifted spirit. So therefore, it's important for us to know what the meaning is. His Torah, that which he was able to resolve with clear Torah thinking, and he presented this to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and we'll soon see HaKadosh Baruch Hu accepts what tzaddikim say. So this protects us to this day. In other words, if we have Torah today, so it's B'schus Rab Shimon Bar Yochai, Torah, that Torah that he told over in the Gemara Kuf Lamed Ches has saved the Torah for Klal Yisrael. A remarkable, remarkable insight by the Beis Yisrael. And the truth of the matter is that this type of Torah reasoning direct to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right, we see elsewhere as well. And we have a famous story that Gemara tells us in Baba Kama, that there was a daughter of Reb Nechunya, the digger of wells, who fell into a deep pit. And when people came and informed Reb Chanina ben Doisa about it, so Reb Chanina ben Doisa said, the first hour she's safe, second hour she's safe, and the third hour somebody saved her. So they asked him, you're a Navi, you're a prophet, how do you know the first and second hour she was still alive, and in the third hour after he was informed that she fell into a pit, so therefore she was saved? So he said he did not in any way have Ruach HaKodesh. No Nevuah, no Ruach. I'm not a Navi and I'm not the son of a Navi. But one thing I did say, I exclaimed, such a thing to a pious man who has devoted his labor by digging wells, that there should be water there for the Oilei Regalim on the way to Yerushalayim. So there was thousands, hundreds of thousands of pilgrims that came 3 times a year. He dug wells in order they should have what to drink. So he exclaimed, shall the thing to which that pious man, that tzaddik, devoted his entire life with great work and labor become a stumbling block to his seed, to his children? That's what he said. So the Shita Mikubetzes tells us a very remarkable thing. The Shita Mikubetzes says, Kach amarti lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is what I said, not to myself and not to people that were there, not to people that were present. Just like I said by Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, the Beis Yisrael said that. It was a Ger Rebbe 55 years ago. To HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Davar shenitztayr b'yotzei tzadik, gotcha b'tzaroi. All of his life he gave away for others. He was mitztayr. He worked hard. How can it be possible? VaKadosh Baruch Hu maskim l'svaras hatzadikim shel chachmei hador. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu accepts the svara, the clear, logical Torah thinking of the tzaddikim that also happen to be the chachmei hador. They are the wise people of the generation. Matzinu b'Gemara, the beferish Gemara b'Chagiga. Ashkechei Rabbe Bal Shila Eliyahu. Eliyahu Hanavi came and he met Rabbi Bar Shila. So Rabbi Bar Shila asked Eliyahu Hanavi, what is the HaKadosh Baruch Hu doing? So he says he is learning, repeating the Torah of the Rabbanon in this world. Nevertheless, there is an exception. The Torah of Rab Meir, HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not repeat. Why not? Because he learned from Acher. Acher became an apostate. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not learn his Torah, does not repeat it in the Pamal Yishol Malo. So he said, why not? Rab Meir Rimoin Motzah, he found the pomegranate, the fruit he ate. Klipasai Zora, he threw away the peels. He was able to be selective, and he did not in any way become influences from the negative character traits of Acher. Amar Leisel, Yonavi proclaimed, Hashtakoma, Meil Beni, Kachu Oimel, now Kadosh Baruch Hu, B'Pamal Yishal Malo, in the great Beis HaMedrash, in heaven, the celestial Beis HaMedrash, Kadosh Baruch Hu now is repeating what Rameir said. And this is what the Beis Yisrael said. We owe a tremendous, tremendous debt of gratitude to Rab Shimon Bar Yochai. Mogein Oleinu, to this day, he protects us. He is our protector, he gave us the salvation from that Gezerah. He broke the Gezerah. That's the first thing we have to understand, our great indebtedness to all the Chachmei HaMesorah, but especially to Shimon Bar Yochai. We will now try to explain what is the most important legacy, the living legacy for us that we can derive from Shimon Bar Yochai. So we have a Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, the 4th chapter, Mishnah Tes Vav, the 15th Mishnah. So we have two versions of this Mishnah. The first version of the Mishnah is Rebbe Elazar ben Shamua Oimel. This is brought down with the name of Rebbe Elazar ben Shamua. He was also from the Talmidim of Rebbe Kiva. He was one of the 5 Talmidim that reestablished Torah in the world. So the girsa that we have is Yehi Chavoy Talmidoch Chovelech Kishalot. The honor of your student should be as dear to you as your own honor. Of course, we're addressing the Rabbanon, rabbis, scholars, Rosh Yeshivas. Uchavoy Chaverach K'moira Rabboch, and honor of your colleague as the reverence of your teacher and mentor. Umoira Rabboch K'moira Shomayim, and the moira of your teacher should be equal to the reverence of heaven. Nevertheless, the old Girsa that's brought down, Rabbi Yoina mentions it, as well as the Medrash Shmuel, he said that was an authentic old version that says not Rebbe Elazar ben Shamua, but it says Rebbe Elazar ben Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. And then we have a strange formulation. What did he say? The honor, dignity of your student should be as precious to you, choviv, as dear and precious to you, as the honor that you yourself want to be bestowed upon yourself. So, of course, Medrash Shmuel points out, and it's an obvious question, that, for example, we had Rav Preda, who took upon himself to teach a student that was a little bit difficult to teach, and he had to repeat his lesson 400 times. He had a colleague, Reb Zera, Rav Preda, Reb Zera, they were together. So is it possible for us to assume that the level of honor and dignity that Rav Preda has to bestow on his colleague, that his entire lifetime helped him to reach his high madrigas of spirituality and of Chochmas HaTorah, the Yirah Shamayim, on their level, which is way beyond us, that level that he's obligated in to bestow that dignity and honor on his colleague, he should bestow it on his Talmud. Of course, you have to have a love of your student. You have to cherish him, no question about it. But insofar as levels are concerned, difficult to understand how this old Girsa, which is authenticated by the Medrash Rabbeinu Yoina, that was the old Girsa. How do we explain this equality when we know that apparently there is a distinction between the honor and dignity one is obligated to conduct himself vis-a-vis his colleague and his Talmud. So if you look at the Gemara, in Daf Lamed Dalet in Shabbos, I believe we can find the answer. Remarkable Gemara. Reb Shimon Bar Yochai and his son had to escape the evil decree of the Roman government. So they hid in the cave for 12 years. Miraculously, they had a carob tree and a little water, and that's what they subsisted on. That was given to them from heaven. And all day long, they learned in sand. They covered themselves till their necks. When they went to daven, they put on their clothes. Anyway, the Gemara, we'll pick it up, tells us that Eliyahu Hanavi came and told them that the decree has been nullified. The decree now has been nullified and you're safe to come out. Eliyahu told them that there's nothing to worry about. He was dressed and they came out. They emerged. Eliyahu said at the entrance of the cave, the emperor is dead and his decree is annulled. As soon as they emerged after 12 years, they saw a man plowing and sowing, and they exclaimed, look at these people, they forsake life eternal, they engage in activities in a life of temporality. And they were so spiritual that they couldn't tolerate the materialistic world. So wherever they cast their eyes, so immediately that area was burned up. Thereupon a heavenly echo came forth and cried, why have you emerged? To destroy my world? Go back to your cave. So they went back and they said that they deserved to be there another 12 months. So of course, we don't understand this Gemara whatsoever. We can erroneously believe that we are on a higher level in spirituality of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai and his son, because we have no problems tolerating the materialism of the world. On the contrary, we praise many times people that are basic in business, they make money, we revere them on occasion, no question about it. None of us are suspect to go in Flatbush, Borough Park, Lawrence, and say, Manich and Oilam, you're leaving a world of Chaye, Oilam, of the eternal world, and you're involved in activities which only help you in the temporal world? Nobody. Number two, more difficult, right? We can't understand what the purpose of Chizru L'Maraschem is. Go back to your caves. Okay, so what are they going to do? They're going to reach even higher levels. And if they reach higher levels, and after 12 months they'll come out once again, not only will they not be able to tolerate somebody who is an agriculturist, and they'll burn the fruits, they'll burn the vegetables. It's automatic that way. They didn't do it purposely. It's automatic because their level was such a level, they were each one was like a saraf, angel that emanates fire. You cannot tolerate, you can't accustom himself to a physical world. So they'll be even on a higher level, and the whole world will be destroyed. Here was only Kol Mokom, every place that they looked at became burned. Here the entire world will be destroyed. So we don't understand this Gemara whatsoever. The answer would apparently be Chaim Mehemno mentions it, not directly here, but indirectly, so we can use that Yesoid to explain that Gemara. That's for sure. We're not on a higher Madriga than Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. It's absurd. The reason we can tolerate this world activities, the here and now, the oiskim, the preoccupation with activities in this world, is because we're not far removed from the world. We're also Megushim Dika people. We also, everybody on their own level, but unfortunately, we also have aspects, and also in our value system, we have some sort of value for materialism, living a pretty good life in this world. So we're not far removed. So that's our chisaron, it's not a maila. But min hashamayim, in heaven, they wanted Reb Shimon Bar Yochai not to resign himself to accepting this world. He's above and beyond it. His spirituality was at such a high level that he and the son, Belazar, and Shimon, are an inner contradiction, two totally removed poles from this world. The spirituality was diametrically opposed to this world. They cannot in any way tolerate the world. Otherwise, they would have to go down and renounce aspects of their high levels of spirituality. So what happened this 13th year? So this 13th year, they rose to higher levels. If it's possible for us to understand it, right? But we'll just say the words of the Raya Memra. They rose to higher levels which are totally closed to us. Tomil Venelam, it's totally closed, enclosed, secretive. We have no idea what it's about. And they reached Tachas Kisei HaKavod. And they actually came in this world to be Tachas Kisei HaKavod, under the divine throne. And there they saw a midah of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that we don't see. We're mechuyev to go in the ways of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but they saw a derech, they saw a type of hanhogik, conduct of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that we don't see. And that was Choymel Dalim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves, cherishes poor people, not poor people in Gashmias. That's for sure. That they didn't have to go Tachas Kisei HaKavod, but poor people in Ruchnias. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu gets excited, and all of the celestial worlds make a commotion about a simple yid, a poshet yid that does a simple mitzvah. It's a reyach nichoyach lefonom. It's a tremendous, tremendous nachas that we give HaKadosh Baruch Hu with that. We're not aware of it ourselves, far, far from it. Every little mitzvah, minor, a little chesed, makes such an impression in the Ilamos El Yoinim that this person has a distinguished place among all the distinguished people in heaven. That's what they saw. So when they came out into the world, so they were able to tolerate it, because they, for the first time, understood that people have big nisyonos, and people be'emes would want to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu all day. They could, but haneg by minig derech eretz, the place in situations where they have to work for a living, and if you work for a living, so you get values that way, but it's not the real person. The genuine person is not that way. And even if they would do small things, they are appreciated and their acts are cherished in heaven. And they are toifes, a big makom. There's a commotion, there's action, and they have a distinguished place. They have a pedestal in heaven. If we're not asking on the Balei Kabbalah, they know by way of tradition. But if we were to ask ourselves, the Raya Mehemno, how do they know? Where is there some sort of source for this? Of course, that's the Gemara. Many times I was unaware of it. Only lately did I understand the smichos, the connection. What does the Gemara say? As soon as they came out the second time, so they saw an elderly man running home, and it was Erev Shabbos, very close to Shabbos. And they saw this old man holding 2 bundles of flowers, and he was running home at twilight. So they asked him, what are these for? So he answered, the covered Shabbos, they're in the honor of Shabbos. Why 2? 1 should be sufficient. He says, no. 1 is connected Zachar, 1 is connected Shamar. 1 is for observe, the other 1 is for remember. So what did they say? All of a sudden, what did they both say? Both. Shim Bar Yochai said to his son, Chosi, kama chaviv mitzvahs al Yisrael, Yosef Datayu. See how precious are the commandments to the Jewish people. Thereon, their minds were tranquilized, and they were able to live in a world of materialism and materialistic pursuits and engagements. This is the legacy, the living legacy of Hashem Bar Yochai. And perhaps we have a right to say that when the Gemara says, why the 24,000 Talmidim of Kiva Daisha Nagul Kavod Zelazet, obviously we don't know what happened there, but it could be, according to this, there was not enough respect, not enough appreciation for the minor things that someone did. Of course, if somebody learned Shas, did big mitzvahs, no question about it, respected, revered. However, for the minor things, they were unaware that Kadosh Baruch Hu appreciates that as well as the major things as well. It makes a tremendous impact. It's a nachas ruach lefonov. At this juncture, we can understand the Girsa Yeshana very well. Yichavoid Talmida Chovlech Geshalach Ufidachafach. So we ask the question, they all ask, 2 different levels. You have to honor a student. Answer is that first and foremost, it has to be chobav alecha. It can't be perfunctory. It has to be with love, with respect. A person every night has to analyze, was he yoytze? He's a rebbe, he's Rosh Hashiva, he's a Rav. Did he fulfill his obligation of honoring, showing respect to his disciples, the members of the shul? So then it has to be with the chavivus. He has to love doing that. It might border on self-incrimination, self-condemnation, but he has to love doing it because he owes it to them. And their whole ruchniistic stance depends on that. More than that. But if he would think a little bit more and he would realize the nisyonis that certain people go through, and perhaps he would analyze it a little more and would come to the realization and awareness that could be he himself would not be able to overcome, overwhelm, overpower these type of difficulties that this person goes through. And the little bit that he does, he himself couldn't do. So therefore, he's owed an extra portion of kavod. And this is also part of the legacy of the great Reb Shimon Bar Yochai.